Suddenly, the image of Khaby Lame, TikTok's most followed content creator and universally beloved for his iconic silent humor, was shattered in the eyes of millions when news broke that he had been detained by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, in Las Vegas. On June 6, 2025, what began as a routine ICE check spiraled into a viral storm, fueled by confusion, disinformation, and sheer disbelief. Khaby, known globally for his comedic takes on life hacks and exaggerated logic, was quietly taken into custody for overstaying his visa, an administrative oversight that many argued could have been avoided with proper support or legal guidance. Just days before, he had been seen walking red carpets, attending celebrity poker tournaments, and sharing laughs with influencers and stars alike. No one, not even his closest collaborators, anticipated this sudden shift from viral sensation to a detainee under federal scrutiny. As word began to circulate, fans were left stunned. Social media exploded with speculation. Was he targeted? Was this political? Or simply a bureaucratic misstep? The hashtag #FreeKhaby began trending across continents, with users from Italy to Indonesia expressing outrage and solidarity. Yet, amid the digital noise, facts were scarce. The narrative was rapidly warped by fake reports claiming Khaby had been jailed, deported in handcuffs, or even banned for life from re-entering the US. These rumors only heightened the hysteria. Meanwhile, Khaby's team remained silent for hours, fanning the flames of curiosity and fear. What began as a minor visa violation spiraled into a crisis of image, immigration politics, and online identity. Behind the scenes, the TikTok star faced a whirlwind of legal decisions. Despite being released on the same day of his detention and choosing to voluntarily leave the US without resistance, the digital world had already cast its judgment. Some saw him as a victim of overreach, a scapegoat in a system that often confuses influence with immunity. Others, more skeptical, criticized him for neglecting something so basic as visa validity, especially given his global stature and resources. The contrast between Khaby's usual calm, expressionless face and the chaos unfolding around his name was jarring. This wasn't just another celebrity headline. It was a moment of reckoning for digital fame in the real world. A reminder that even the internet's most unproblematic darling was not above the law. As journalists scrambled for official statements and fans demanded the truth, the quiet humorist found himself thrust into an international immigration debate. His story unfolding not through one of his iconic TikToks, but through the cold lens of a legal system that didn't care about followers or fame. What truly happened that day in Las Vegas? And how did a man who mocked complexity with silence end up at the center of a bureaucratic thunderstorm? The answers, layered in contradictions and legal nuance, were only beginning to surface. Meanwhile, the situation surrounding Khaby Lame's unexpected ICE detention continued to spiral into a full-blown public relations nightmare. As more details emerged, the conflict deepened, not just between Khaby and U.S. immigration officials, but between fact and fiction in a digital ecosystem thirsty for outrage. By the time Khaby's team released a brief statement confirming his voluntary departure, Misinformation had already hijacked the narrative. Social media, once the kingdom he ruled with wordless wit, became an uncontrollable beast devouring any nuance. Viral posts claimed he was racially profiled, that he had been dragged from his Las Vegas hotel room in the dead of night, or that he was facing a 5-year ban from entering the United States. None of it was true, but the truth, as always, was slower to travel. Influencers began to weigh in, some genuinely concerned, others eager for the engagement boost. Even major news outlets published contradictory headlines, with some using stock footage of ICE raids from unrelated events, unintentionally, or perhaps strategically, amplifying the spectacle. In the middle of this digital crossfire was Khaby himself, who had quietly boarded a flight out of the country within hours of his release. Behind the scenes, his inner circle scrambled to contain the damage. Meetings with immigration attorneys, PR specialists, and international brand partners became a whirlwind of contingency plans. Was this going to impact his multi-million-dollar sponsorships? Would his American tour dates be canceled? Could he even return in time for upcoming collaborations with global stars? Brands that once proudly featured his face began issuing generic monitoring the situation statements, walking a fine line between loyalty and legal caution. The backlash also sparked wider debates about the treatment of international influencers in the US, especially those from non-Western backgrounds. Critics questioned whether an American-born star of equal fame would have faced the same scrutiny, or would have been granted leniency through high-powered lawyers and backdoor diplomacy. Meanwhile, fans were split. Many remained loyal, flooding comment sections with heart emojis and messages of support. Others expressed disappointment, citing irresponsibility or accusing Khaby of taking his fame for granted. The silence from Khaby himself only intensified the drama. Usually prolific on TikTok and Instagram, his accounts went dark. No new posts, no cheeky facial expressions, no reassurance. In the absence of his calm, comedic presence, speculation reigned. Did he feel betrayed? Was he embarrassed? Or was he quietly preparing for a legal comeback? The lack of answers only fueled more rumors, including bizarre theories that the entire incident was a PR stunt or that Khaby was secretly planning to move permanently to Dubai. Beneath the memes and hashtags, however, was a very real conflict. Not just between a celebrity and a government agency, but between perception and reality in an age where influence can both protect and endanger. Khaby's detention, though brief, had cracked open a pressure point that no one expected. What happens when the world's most silent man is forced to speak? Not with memes, but with consequences. Inevitably, the narrative reached its boiling point as international media scrambled for exclusive scoops, and the pressure on Khaby Lame mounted to address the swirling chaos. By June 7th, less than 48 hours after his brief detention, Khaby Deported was still trending worldwide, despite the actual circumstances being far less dramatic than the hashtags implied. With no public statement and growing unrest among fans, critics, and brand partners, a single Instagram story from Khaby's verified account suddenly appeared. Just a black screen with 3 words, "I'll be back." The internet went into overdrive. Was it a Terminator reference? A silent protest? A veiled promise of return? The ambiguity only added fuel to the fire, and digital detectives began dissecting every detail, from the timestamp to the font used. Meanwhile, in entertainment boardrooms across continents, Khaby's name became a litmus test for risk. Major brands like Hugo Boss, Pepsi, and even Netflix held emergency meetings. Some paused ad campaigns featuring him, worried about potential fallout, while others debated whether supporting him would be seen as progressive or problematic. But the most pivotal moment came when Khaby finally broke his silence. This time not with a video, but through a carefully crafted statement posted across his social media accounts. He confirmed the overstay, accepted responsibility, but emphasized there was no arrest, no handcuffs, and certainly no deportation. He had voluntarily exited the country after a standard ICE review, and his legal team was already working on a new visa application. The message was calm, factual, and unapologetically human. He admitted the mistake, thanked fans for their support, and promised to return with new stories, new laughs, and a better understanding of the rules that govern us all. The post, which ended with a signature emoji, his signature shrug, garnered over 10 million likes in 24 hours. The digital tide began to shift. Influencers who had previously mocked or criticized him deleted tweets and issued apologies. Editorials emerged defending him, calling the event a cautionary tale of how easily digital fame can collide with analog systems. Legal analysts weighed in on news segments, clarifying that Khaby's situation was administrative, not criminal, and that voluntary departure often allows for quicker reentry than deportation. But the climax wasn't just about public reaction. It was about Khaby reclaiming control of the story. In a world that had turned his silence into a spectacle, he had finally spoken. Not through slapstick, but with sincerity. He turned down exclusive interviews with TMZ and BBC, choosing instead to appear on a humble Italian podcast where he laughed about the ordeal, joked about immigration lines, and reminded everyone why they fell in love with him in the first place. Even ICE issued a rare clarification confirming Khaby's version of events, acknowledging there had been no resistance, no criminal record, and no ban imposed. That single confirmation extinguished many of the rumors that had been metastasizing across platforms. The storm had crested, and though it had threatened to swallow his brand, his dignity, and his place in American pop culture, Khaby emerged from it more grounded, more human, and ironically, more relatable than ever before. Ultimately, the fallout from Khaby Lame's visa debacle transformed into something far greater than a fleeting scandal. It became a global reflection on fame, accountability, and the fragile balance between digital personas and real-world systems. As the dust settled, Khaby's return to Italy was marked not by defeat, but by a quiet resilience. Paparazzi caught glimpses of him stepping off a plane in Milan, wearing his usual understated hoodie and a soft, almost ironic smile. There were no tears, no dramatics, just Khaby as he always was, silent, composed, and subtly expressive. But behind the scenes, change was already underway. His team quickly implemented a new legal advisory unit dedicated solely to managing international travel compliance. Not just for Khaby, but for fellow creators under his growing media company. He began advocating for digital influencers to receive better support in navigating immigration laws, a surprising but necessary topic that had long been ignored. In interviews, he emphasized that while his situation was resolved quickly due to his privilege and visibility, many others face harsher consequences for similar mistakes. His experience had opened his eyes to a bigger conversation about how governments treat creators whose jobs transcend borders, platforms, and time zones. Fans, initially panicked, rallied behind his new message. The incident was no longer framed as a personal embarrassment, but as an awakening, one that added unexpected depth to Khaby's brand. Sponsorships resumed, some even increasing in value due to the added publicity. It was funny, smart, and poignant all at once. That blend of humor and truth is what solidified his post-crisis transformation. Fans didn't just see Khaby as a meme king anymore, they saw a global citizen navigating systems none of his fame could shield him from. What started as a quiet detention turned into a loud lesson in global fame, digital identity, and personal growth. And in the end, he proved that even without words, he could still speak volumes. This time, not with a shrug, but with purpose.